On the shores of Lake Victoria, where the sun sets like fire on the water, lives a people whose story is as deep as the lake itself. A story that began far from here, in the heart of the Nile Valley, centuries ago. They are the Luo, people of water, of movement, of rhythm. This is their journey. Long before the nations of modern Africa took shape, the ancestors of the Luo lived in the vast plains surrounding the Upper Nile, in the region known today as Bahr el Ghazal, South Sudan. It was a land of open savannas, teeming rivers, and endless skies. Life here was deeply intertwined with the rhythms of nature. The people tended their cattle, fished the slow-moving waters of the Nile, and moved with the seasons, guided by rainfall and grazing cycles. The river was not just a source of water, it was the pulse of life itself, shaping their diet, beliefs, and traditions. The Luo were part of the great Nilotic family, tall, resilient, and skilled in the art of survival. Their society was organized around kinship, where families and clans lived in harmony, connected by shared ancestry and mutual respect. They valued courage, community, and continuity, passing oral histories through generations so that every child grew up knowing who they were and where they came from. Their songs spoke of cattle and courage, of rivers and ancestors, weaving together daily life with spiritual meaning. But the stability of their Nile homeland was not eternal. Over time, the delicate balance that sustained them began to shift. Populations grew, stretching resources thin. Periods of drought alternated with floods, testing both the land and the people. Conflicts arose as neighboring groups competed for pasture and water. The Luo, ever resourceful and ambitious, began to look beyond their ancestral lands, to the south where new opportunities and fertile lands beckoned. The decision to move was not sudden. It was gradual, a generational migration born of both necessity and hope. And so began one of the most remarkable human journeys in East African history, the southward migration of the Luo. It was a movement guided by rivers, stars, and stories, a slow unfolding over centuries as families packed their lives and followed the water's course. Their journey was not just a search for land but a quest for continuity, to preserve their way of life wherever they went. From the cradle of the Nile, they would carry their culture, their language, and their unyielding spirit, leaving behind footprints that would one day stretch all the way to the shores of Lake Victoria. The Luo migration was not a single journey but a movement that unfolded over centuries, a living river of people flowing steadily from the Upper Nile toward the heart of East Africa. Guided by their deep connection to waterways, they followed the courses of rivers, valleys, and lakes, using the stars and ancestral memory as their compass. Each step southward carried echoes of the past, songs, traditions, and a shared dream of finding new lands to sustain their people. As they traveled, different groups branched off and settled along the way. In northern Uganda, some established permanent communities that would later become the Akoli, Aller, and Padhola, all Luo in origin, each developing its own identity while maintaining the same cultural thread that bound them to the Nile. The migration was not just about survival. It was about the preservation of their culture, their language, and their sense of belonging wherever they went. Their journey was marked by resilience and adaptation. They crossed thick forests, navigated swamps, and met other communities with whom they traded, intermarried, or sometimes clashed. Yet, through every challenge, they carried an unbroken sense of purpose. For the Luo, water was life, and wherever water flowed, life could continue. It was this guiding principle that kept them moving ever southward, deeper into new and unfamiliar territories. Eventually, after generations of movement, they reached the great inland sea known to them as Nam Lolwa, today's Lake Victoria. Here they saw something familiar, the glimmer of vast water, abundant fish, and fertile land stretching beyond the horizon. To the Luo, it felt like a spiritual return, as if the Nile itself had curved back to embrace them. And on those welcoming shores, they began to build the foundations of what would become their new homeland. The arrival at Lake Victoria marked a new chapter in the Luo story, one of growth, innovation, and belonging. The fertile plains of western Kenya offered everything the migrating families had sought: water, land, and opportunity. Settling along the lake's edge, they formed villages and clans known as Oganda, each tracing its lineage to an ancestral patriarch. These clans became the backbone of Luo society, providing structure, unity, and a sense of shared destiny. In this new environment, the Luo adapted quickly. They became expert fishermen, mastering the rhythms of Lake Victoria's tides. They farmed millet, sorghum, and later maize, and kept cattle that symbolized wealth and pride. Ironworking skills, inherited from their ancestors in the Nile Valley, flourished, as did the arts of pottery, weaving, and woodcraft. The Luo built not only homes but a civilization rooted in both memory and innovation. Cultural life revolved around the family, community, and the ancestors. The duol, or men's meeting place, became the heart of social and political life, where elders deliberated, stories were told, and wisdom was passed down. Music and oral poetry thrived. Instruments like the nyataitai, lyre, and orutu, string fiddle, accompanied songs of love, bravery, and history. Through these traditions, the Luo ensured that every generation knew the voices of those who came before. Spiritually, they honored the force known as Juk, the divine essence present in all life. The Luo believed the living and the dead were inseparably linked, with ancestors guiding the destiny of their descendants. Life, death, and rebirth were part of one great cycle. In these beliefs, they found strength and identity, a reminder that even in a new land, their roots ran deep into the soil of their past. As centuries passed, the world around the Luo began to change. Colonial powers carved new borders across East Africa, reshaping the land they had made their home. The Luo found themselves adapting once more, this time to the pressures of modernity, education, and political change. Yet, even as the winds of colonialism swept across Kenya, the Luo spirit remained unbroken. They embraced education early, seeing knowledge as another form of strength, another way to lead and preserve their dignity. Out of this period emerged some of East Africa's most influential figures. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, the elder statesman, became a symbol of national independence and African pride. Tom Mboya, visionary and reformer, rose from humble origins to shape Kenya's political destiny and inspire a generation. Through them and others, the Luo voice became central to the story of modern Kenya, a people who refused to be silenced, who carried the same determination that once drove them down the Nile. Yet beyond politics, the Luo continued to influence culture, music, and thought. Their storytelling evolved into poetry and song. The rhythm of the Benga guitar carried echoes of the ancient nyataitai. Their fishing boats became symbols of resilience. Their dances, expressions of identity. Even as cities grew and traditions faced the pressures of change, the Luo heart, proud, expressive, and deeply communal, continued to beat strongly along the lake's shores. To be Luo in the modern world is to walk between two rivers, one flowing from the past, the other toward the future. They are a people both modern and ancestral, global and rooted. And through every generation, one truth endures. The Luo never forget where the river began. Today, the Luo story stands as a bridge between history and hope, a testament to migration, resilience, and cultural pride. From the Nile to Lake Victoria, their journey tells us something universal about humanity, that our identity is not confined by geography, but carried within us wherever we go. The Luo did not abandon their heritage when they moved. They replanted it in every new land they touched, nurturing it until it grew into something timeless. Across East Africa, traces of their legacy remain, in language, art, music, and belief. The Ekoli of Uganda, the Alar of Congo, the Shilluk of South Sudan, and the Luo of Kenya all share a thread woven from the same ancestral fabric. Their languages still echo the same rhythm. Their songs still praise the same spirits. Their customs still honor water, cattle, and community, the symbols of life that guided their forefathers southward. For the Luo, history is not a distant memory. It is alive in every story told at sunset, every nyataitai string plucked in joy or sorrow, every child who learns their lineage. Through rituals, naming ceremonies, and storytelling, the Luo keep their past breathing in the present. They have proven that to remember is to resist, to preserve one's culture even when the world changes around you. From the cradle of the Nile to the calm waters of Nam Lolwa, The Luo have carried their heritage like a flame, passing it from one generation to the next. And that flame, steady and enduring, continues to light the path for a people who know that their strength lies not only in where they came from, but in never forgetting who they are. As the Luo people continued their southward journey, their migration branched into different paths, like tributaries of the Great Nile itself. One group settled around the region now known as northern Uganda. These became the Akoli, Alar, and Padhola, each preserving the essence of Luo culture, yet adapting to the new environments they called home. The Akoli settled in the fertile plains around Gulu, known for their warrior traditions and captivating dances that echoed the rhythm of the drums from their Nile ancestors. The Alar found home near the borderlands of Uganda and Congo, where they built kingdoms, most notably under the Alar royal family, who still hold symbolic influence today. Across Lake Kyoga and beyond, another group, the Japadola, established themselves in eastern Uganda. Though surrounded by Bantu-speaking communities, they maintained their language, Dapadhola, and preserved ancestral customs with remarkable resilience. Their stories, proverbs, and clan structures remained distinctly Luo, a living reminder of their shared origins with the broader Nilotic family. Through the centuries, they kept alive their identity, a people defined not by borders but by heritage. Further south, near the shimmering waters of Lake Victoria, the Jo Luo of Kenya, often simply called the Luo, became one of the most prominent branches. They carried with them fishing skills honed on the Nile and adapted them to the vast lake they came to call Nam Lolwa. Their settlements grew along its shores, from Kisumu to Homa Bay, from Siaya to Migori, and their culture blossomed in rhythm with the waves. Here they forged new identities: poets, fishermen, farmers, and later scholars, all bound by a shared reverence for the ancestors who led them there. The lake was not merely a home, it was a continuation of the Nile's spirit, flowing, eternal, and unbroken. Beyond Kenya and Uganda, traces of the Luo migration still echo in parts of Tanzania, South Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. In Tanzania, small Luo-speaking communities settled along the western shores of Lake Victoria, their traditions blending seamlessly with the cultures of the Wasukuma and Wazinza. In South Sudan, the Shilluk, among the earliest Luo groups, still inhabit the Upper Nile region, upholding kingship traditions that date back centuries. Each branch tells a story of adaptation, endurance, and unity across distance. Though divided by geography and borders drawn by colonizers, the Luo people remain connected by a timeless thread, one woven from language, blood, and memory. The story of the Luo is not just a tale of migration, it is a testament to endurance, pride, and evolution. From their ancient roots in the Upper Nile to the modern cities of Kisumu, Kampala, and Juba, the Luo spirit has remained unbroken. Their traditions, once whispered around fires and sung beside rivers, now echo through classrooms, stages, and parliaments. In Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, and beyond, the Luo have become poets of progress, blending ancestral wisdom with modern ambition. Their language, Daluo, still carries the melody of the Nile, while their music, art, and storytelling continue to define what it means to be proudly African. In Kenya, the Luo have played a defining role in shaping the country's cultural and political identity. Their love for expression birthed some of East Africa's most iconic musicians, from Dr. Osito Kali and Dio Misiani, whose Benga rhythms made the lake come alive, to modern voices like Prince Inda and Emma Jalamo, who carry the torch of Ohangla music. Beyond art, their intellectual and political influence runs deep, producing great thinkers, educators, and leaders. Among them Raila Odinga, whose story mirrors the Luo's broader legacy of resilience and courage in the face of challenge. In Uganda, the Akoli and Alar continue to uphold the Luo spirit in their own ways. Their traditional dances, music, and storytelling remain central to national identity, even after years of conflict and change. The Akoli Bola dance, for instance, still stands as a symbol of unity and strength, an art form that ties the living to their ancestors. In South Sudan, the Shilluk preserve their sacred kingship traditions under the Reth, a spiritual ruler whose lineage is said to trace back to Nikang, the Luo ancestral founder. These threads of heritage weave together a shared pride that transcends borders and generations. Across East Africa, the Luo story continues to evolve, not as a relic of the past, but as a living, breathing culture that adapts and thrives. Their past migration across rivers and lands mirrors their modern journey through education, innovation, and creativity. Wherever they go, the Luo carry their most powerful inheritance: the belief that identity is not confined to place, but carried in the heart. From the banks of the Nile to the shores of Lake Victoria, their journey stands as one of Africa's most profound sagas, a people forever flowing like the waters that first gave them life.